Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Boba7772, and today I'm bringing you a review of probably one of my favorite Star Wars books in the new canon so far, but also one of them that also kind of annoyed me a bit, which is Star Wars Dark Disciple. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, first off, I want to say that there's going to be spoilers in this probably right away, so if you have not read this book, I would probably click off the video now. But this book, I'll kind of praise it before I say what I think is wrong with it, and then probably praise it some more. But this book was incredible for the most part. It was really good. I really love both of these characters. I've loved both of these characters since they were introduced in the old media, like this quote legends, as you will. Ventress was an amazing character. Quinlan was an amazing character. And in the new canon, I think that, Ventress was actually overall given a great treatment throughout all of her stories in the Clone Wars and in this book and everything. Quinlan Vos was given a great treatment in this book, but compared to how he was treated in the Legends canon, I think that they could have done a bit better with his character, or pardon me, maybe not even a bit better, just a bit more, because this book pretty much translates into 8 episodes, and how I believe that it went, where there were going to be 4 episodes in season 7 and then 4 episodes in season 8. So I thought that sounded like it would have been really cool to do, though I could be wrong. They could all be season 7 episodes. But if you count this as episodes, and Quinlan Vos has appeared in 9 episodes of the Clone Wars, 10 episodes of the Clone Wars if you count Yoda's vision, but he's really gone in development in 9 of them. I guess if you count if he would have been in all of them, but they translated those into a book, so he got 1 book and 1 episode really of character development, and then he was a background character in like 1 episode of the Clone Wars, and he was a background character in episode 1, and he was mentioned in episode 3. Now the reason I'm mentioning this is because in the old canon, he was this huge character in the comics, and he was just really awesome. Now, I had originally thought that they'd made this book to kind of cater to the old fans, because both Quinlan and Ventress are like huge fan favorites from the old EU. However, they changed them up quite a bit, and I'm not saying that I'm disappointed, because I know that they're going in a new direction with a lot of this stuff, so I'm not too upset that they change these character stories around and that they aren't the exact same as they used to be. But one thing I will mention is, a spoiler alert kind of ish, Quinlan Vos survives the book, so I'm hoping that he gets more character development. Maybe they'll have a comic series about him or something. And that would be really cool to kind of continue his story arc. I also really hope he survives Order 66. I think that he could become a great comic character, and that Marvel could do a great series on him. Now, with Ventress, I don't really want to get into her quite yet. I'll do that later. But with her and Vos, they kind of have this romantic relationship in the book, which with Vos's character kind of completely obliterates his old expanded universe status, I guess, if you will. So why I'm saying that is because in the Legends continuity, he had a wife and eventually a kid, and now he's in love with Ventress. And once again, I am not saying that was a bad thing, because it was very well done in this book. Now, what I didn't really like about this book is that it was a book that they took 8 episodes of the Clone Wars and put them into 1 book, but it felt like they took 8 episodes of the Clone Wars and put it into 1 book, and then gave it kind of a darker theme. And you can really tell this because there were some very suggestive moments in this book. Even I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they went there. And it wasn't, that bad or anything, but it was kind of, I guess, a shock to read because I was going in with the mindset that these were unaired Clone Wars episodes. Now, I did not like that it felt like TV, like 8 episodes of a TV show had been put into this book. I think that they should have given Christy Golden, I hope that I'm saying her name right, the script of the 8 episodes and let her rewrite it to where it wasn't directly based off of the Clone Wars episode, or it was directly based off the Clone Wars episodes, but it wasn't directly adapted from the Clone Wars episodes. And really, that was my biggest complaint with this. The writing, you know, as a writer myself, or, you know, a hopeful potential writer, I think that this book could have been done so much better if they had told her, here's a script, rewrite it to feel like a book instead of to feel like we're directly adapting 8 episodes of a TV show into a book. But other than really learning how to adapt to media, I do hope that they adapt other episodes of the Clone Wars that never finished into novels, comics, games, that kind of stuff. For example, I know that there's at least 8 or 12 episodes of the Clone Wars that Ahsoka was going to appear in after her departure. So it would be cool if they didn't give... I don't think that they need to give somebody the script and say adapt this into a book. I think they need to give somebody a script and say rewrite this so that it fits into a novel, and then, you know, they could even make a series on it. But yeah, I guess that's a little bit getting off topic. This book, other than that, which I find as a significant flaw, I found this book really great. It really, really made me feel for the characters of Quinlan Vos and Ventress. And while they were 2 characters who I really liked before going into this book, like they were already on my top 10 list, especially Vos. He was always a favorite, and that was probably because of his old canon stuff. I loved him there, so I really liked him here too. I now enjoy both of these characters so much more after reading this book. In fact, they are both probably my top 5 favorite Star Wars canon characters now. So pretty much what they did with Vos's story is the Jedi Council told him that he was going to go on a mission and he was going to assassinate Count Dooku. The reason this happened was they were getting tired of Count Dooku killing so many people. It was getting ridiculous. The opening chapter of a book took place pretty much from the eyes of a child. Well, I don't know really if you would count them as a child. They were under 18. They were young. They were a kid. And the kid was on this ship trying to escape from this planet. The entire ship, with I'm pretty sure there were thousands of people on it, was blown up by Dooku, and then Dooku gloated about it to the council. So Obi-Wan pretty much is like, yeah, I know the perfect person we can get to assassinate Dooku. So they call Quinlan. They pretty much tell Quinlan that he's going to be working with Ventress. So he goes and finds Ventress, and initially the two... he kind of bugs her initially. When I say initially, I mean at the very beginning, but like the first few hours that he meets her in, they really grow on each other, and he gains her trust by going on a bunch of missions with her. And one of the missions, one of the really final missions that they go on together is the Pikes and the Black Sun. I believe those are the 2 crime syndicates. I believe the Pike leader had his wife and children kidnapped by the Black Sun, and I may have gotten the names wrong. I apologize if I do, but Ventress and Vos went to go save the kids. And keep in mind, Ventress does not know Quinlan's a Jedi. She just knows that he's a really strong bounty hunter. They go and save the kids. They barely rescue him, and they bring him back to the father. And right as they're about to leave, the Black Sun comes to where they just dropped the children off, and Quinlan knows that they're pretty much dead. Both of the children are dead, the wife's dead, the husband's dead, and he feels awful, and Ventress sees that, and she just goes away really fast. And they go back to a bar, and Quinlan kind of drinks in his sorrows, and then he's like, come here, Ventress, and he hands her his share of the money, and he's like, I'm a Jedi. And then pretty much she's like, that's the end of the chapter. The next chapter opens with her saying that she knows the feats he had done. He would not have been able to really perform if he wasn't a Jedi. And he pretty much tells her his mission at that point, saying, I need to assassinate Count Dooku. That's why I was sent to find you. And she's like, okay, well, I'll train you in the dark ways, the dark side of the Force. They go to Dathomir, and this is where their, I guess, the love between the two, the romance, kind of really picks up. Quinlan ends up kissing her whenever she kind of tells him her past, and they fall in love while she trains him to learn how to use the dark side but not be its slave, still be under control. So another thing, Ventress lies to Quinlan about killing his master Thalmy in the early years of the Clone Wars. She claims that Dooku did it when in reality it was Ventress. So she does that to kind of fuel Quinlan's hate toward Dooku, but she also does it because she fears that Quinlan will hate her if she tells him the truth. So they go. Ventress kind of explains her backstory to Quinlan, that she's the last of her sisters. Everybody was killed. Everybody here was killed by Dooku, and yeah. So they train, and then Ventress pretty much brings him to his final test. There's this ancient fish that Quinlan needs to go under and get it to remove a part of its skin or scales or something. Give it to Quinlan, and then Quinlan needs to bring it back, and then that will show that he has mastered what Ventress has tried to teach him, because it requires the dark side of the Force. Well, he does what he's supposed to. He gets the fish up on land, and he asks Ventress if he really needs to kill it. Ventress is like, Quinlan, listen and don't freak out. Or not kill it, sorry, get it to remove a thing off of it. I just ruined what happens. But yeah, he's like, do I really need it to harm itself in such a way? And Ventress is like, Quinlan, listen, you don't need to get it to remove its skull, you need to kill it. And that kind of freaks Quinlan out, but he eventually kills it, and he feels really bad because Quinlan is a good dude and is like very morally conflicted about this, but he knows that he needs to do it. So they eventually go to Dooku's home. I think it's on Raxus, not too sure. And they dress up, and Quinlan thinks that Ventress is beautiful. They go to Dooku's house and pretty much end up fighting Dooku, Grievous, and a bunch of droids. How this fight turns out is not good for our main characters here. Ventress barely escapes, and Quinlan is captured. Now Ventress is like, I will save you, Quinlan, at all costs. Now all she's really thinking about is how much she loves Quinlan, and she doesn't really care about her revenge against Dooku anymore. All Ventress wants is to get Quinlan and live her life with him, since Quinlan pretty much was like, I will leave the Jedi Order after I kill Dooku to be with you. So Dooku is trying to make Quinlan break, and he isn't breaking, and then he's like, you know what? I wasn't the one who killed your master, it was Ventress. After Quinlan gets mad at him, he's like, you killed my master, and Dooku's like, no, it wasn't me. So Quinlan shows him a recording, and Quinlan blows it off, saying that he doesn't believe it. Dooku's like, okay, well, I'll prove it to you. And if you've seen the episode of the Clone Wars with Quinlan, you can tell that when he touches things, he can see a vision of kind of what's happened there. But also, he can feel what the person who is holding the object, or had on the object, or, you know, owned the object that he was holding, what they felt, what they saw, all of that. So he still had Thalmy's lightsaber, so he gave it to Quinlan and is like, yeah, eventually you're going to see what happened. So Ventress goes to Boba Fett on Tatooine in the Mos Eisley Cantina and is like, I need you and your team to come help me rescue Quinlan. She goes, I need you and your team to come help me on a mission. She didn't exactly say what it was. And they're like, and Boba's still mad at her for what he did to her, or for what Ventress did to him. Oh, I'm messing up a lot. I apologize for this. So pretty much Ventress gets Boba and his crew to help her go rescue Quinlan. Well, they get to Dooku's house, and Quinlan has turned to the dark side now. He's mad at Ventress for killing his master, and he starts fighting her. And they barely escape. Ventress and the bounty hunters like barely escape because Dooku's there, Quinlan's there, and they barely get away. A couple things I want to note about that is Boba Fett has Slave 1 back, and I really don't know how he got Slave 1 back. I'm assuming that was probably in the bounty hunter arc that I assume was supposed to have happened before these episodes of the Clone Wars were supposed to happen with Ventress and Voss. But we know, Hondo's still alive, and Boba has Slave 1 back, so it's kind of strange. I don't even know. So Ventress asks Boba why didn't he leave her behind, and Boba's like, because I'm not like you. And that was one of my favorite parts of the book, because first of all, it helps define Boba's character and shows how honorable he actually is. Ventress is also honorable, but she's honorable, I guess, in a different way, to where she put Boba Fett in a crate because she thought that he was doing the morally wrong thing to save that one girl, though in the episode where Boba and Ventress teamed up, in order to save her, though she still got money for saving her, she made them pay to do that for them. However, Boba is honorable in the way that he won't let people die who people haven't paid him to kill, or he won't leave people behind. So, it's a different kind of honor thing, and I think that it really helped develop both Boba Fett and Asajj Ventress. Well, eventually, Quinlan Voss has become like this big name guy called Admiral Enigma, I believe, and Anakin and Obi-Wan and them bring Ventress in, and they're like, you help us go get Quinlan back, and we will pardon you for all your crimes. And that was another thing I was thinking, shouldn't they have pardoned her when she helped Ahsoka? Which I get that there probably wasn't room for Ahsoka to mention that, but I feel like Ahsoka probably could have mentioned that to the council and given Ventress her pardon, but I guess it really doesn't matter. So Ventress agrees. They go sneak onto a ship, save Quinlan, but Ventress senses Quinlan is evil. Nobody else, not Obi-Wan, not Anakin, not this new Jedi dude who's Quinlan's friend, nobody senses the dark side in Quinlan. So they think Ventress is just crazy. Ventress is trying to kill him, kind of, but they eventually escape, and then they're like, Ventress, you're pardoned. And then Quinlan's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, Ventress. And Ventress is just mad at him at this point, and is like, forget it. So she leaves, and then we see a few Jedi missions with Quinlan and Obi-Wan and Anakin. And as a reader, you're like, well, I don't really trust Quinlan because, kind of using meta knowledge here, Quinlan Voss is, we aren't seeing the story from his point of view anymore, to where we saw it in the first half of the book. We are not seeing the story from Quinlan Voss's point of view, so they don't want us to know what he's thinking. We see it from Ventress's point of view, we see it from this Quinlan Voss's friend's point of view, we see it from Obi-Wan's point of view, but we never see it from Quinlan's. So I was like, that kind of sucks. So I was kind of doubting Quinlan, but it kind of made my doubt kind of faded after a while, because it was stretching on so long, and I was like, even for a TV episode, this is stretching on for a while. So, I kind of gave it the benefit of the doubt and started to trust Quinlan again. Well, then they figured out that there was a mole or a leak, a turncoat in the Jedi, and pretty much they were involved in all the missions Quinlan had been on. So Master Yoda sensed it, and sensed that Quinlan was still dark, so they devised a plan to have Quinlan go and kill Dooku again, and this time Anakin and Obi-Wan would spy on him, and if it didn't work, then they would bring both Quinlan and Dooku into custody, and both of them would probably be executed. Quinlan goes and gets Ventress to help him, and they go off to find Dooku. Voss tells Ventress to wait at the ship, and he jumps onto Dooku's ship. Anakin and Obi-Wan are watching closely. Quinlan starts fighting Dooku, but makes it clear that he is only doing it because he is still dark side and he wants to become the new Sith. And Dooku's like, you think Sidious is gonna take you? No way. So Anakin and Obi-Wan come out and they're like, we're tired of this. Quinlan, you're a traitor. Dooku, you're a traitor. We're gonna capture both of you and sentence you to the death penalty. The whole time Obi-Wan is very conflicted about this, and you can see that Yoda is also kind of upset about this, while about, you know, executing him, while characters such as Anakin Skywalker really doesn't care, which, you know, isn't really out of his execution, which, I mean, I was already not the biggest fan of these characters to an extent, but how they've been acting in this novel has really made me not trust the Jedi and the Jedi Council, which I believe is kind of what they are trying to go for, to make it kind of a moral gray area, show us that the Jedi are not as good as we think they are. So they capture Dooku and Voss, bring him into a prison thing, but they end up escaping, killing pretty much every clone there except for Cody, which is pretty much a bunch of unnamed clones, Cody and 2 Jedi. They kill everybody except for Cody. They kill all the clones. They kill 2 Jedi, which one of them is Voss's friend. Even Voss kills him, so it shows that he actually has turned. And they kill, you know, the other Jedi. Obi-Wan and Anakin race after them. Cody is in bad shape. His leg apparently snapped like a twig, which sounds super painful. Voss calls Ventress and tells him to come pick her up. Tells her to come pick them up. Ventress is like, wait, who other than you? So they come. She comes to the ship and sees that he has Dooku with him, and she's like, I don't believe this. You have some explaining to do. He's like, I do, just not now. So they go and pretty much go to the planet, and there's this huge fight, and what happens is Dooku is injured very badly, Ventress is injured kind of badly, and Quinlan is injured badly. Dooku calls Sidious for help, and then they go on further, and then Dooku pretty much is knocked out. Quinlan is holding the lines against Obi-Wan and Anakin, while Ventress is tending to Dooku. Now this is toward the end of the book, and yeah, sorry about rambling so much, but pretty much Voss comes back to help Ventress, and then she's like, why are you doing this? And then all of a sudden Dooku blasts his lightning at Quinlan, and Ventress jumps in the way, and Ventress is like really badly hurt, like mortally wounded pretty much, and Voss is like, no, and pretty much Dooku gets away at this point, but Ventress actually ends up dying, which was a huge shock. I absolutely could not believe that they did that. Even this book being based off of Clone Wars episodes, her dying in a book was a big move, and I really liked Ventress, and I was so sad that she died. I mean, she wasn't like my absolute favorite character, and I wasn't like bawling or anything, but her death actually hit me because her character had come around so far, like more than almost any other character in Star Wars to date. She has come around just like Anakin has, just like Quinlan has. I kind of want to say just like Ahsoka, even though Ahsoka's story was a little bit different than Ventress's and Quinlan's, but Ventress dies, and it's a shock, and Voss is like really depressed about it. They aren't going to execute Voss because Voss said that his plan was to try to stay undercover long enough to find out Sidious's identity so that they could have both of them, but he was never able to do that, even though him and Ventress both saw Sidious's hologram. So they kept Voss under a close watch pretty much for the remainder of it, and apparently they started trusting him again by episode 3, which I believe is only a few months after this book's final ending place, just because that's kind of where it was when Ventress's fate happened in the Legends. So Voss is a really cool character, and I hope that he doesn't die in Order 66. I really hope that they do more with his character. I really am hoping he gets his own comic series. Ventress dying though, oh my goodness, wow. Just like, she was a wonderful character, and she was just so cool. She had a really cool character design for this arc too. I guess you'll see the spoilers anyway if you go to her Wikipedia page, but if you go to her Wikipedia page, spoiler alert, it shows her death date on there, which is kind of sad, but it also shows an image of her, I believe it's from Star Wars Insider, of live action-ish, how she would look from this book, and she looks really cool in it. But yeah, I mean, this book was good. It was really good. I really, really liked the romance between Quinlan and Ventress, mostly because I really like those. I really like romance stories. I'll just put it out there. And what they did between Voss and Ventress was really good. This book was much darker than the Clone Wars. It had much more adult themes, as was advertised. Not necessarily a good thing, but not a bad thing by any means. It made the book feel different because it was obviously based off of 8 episodes of a TV show that was a kid-friendly TV show with humor and everything, not necessarily just for kids, but like the Clone Wars was. But then they took some like very, very, very not even really very, 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 just kind of very dark / adult themes and put them into this book. So my main, problem with this book is that they didn't give her the script and tell her to completely rewrite it. My main problem is pretty much that they gave her the script and said, adapt this into a book format, because it feels like I'm watching a television show, even though I'm not. But Voss's arc was so good in this. Ventress's arc was so good in this. I am so looking forward to seeing more of Quinlan Voss, if they have any more to show of his character. I am really hoping I'm stuttering, I apologize. I'm really hoping that he didn't die during Order 66, and I'm really hoping that when they show him again, if they show him again, that he alludes back to Ventress. Another thing that this book shows is that they are not scared to use the books to do big things, like in the Old Legends, spoiler alert for the first Yuuzhan Vong book, they killed off Chewbacca in it. And I read that book, and I already knew that Chewbacca was dead whenever I was reading it, but I was shocked when it happened. And I was shocked that they didn't in this book. It looks like they're really tying the continuity together, and it looks like they're also trying to lower their roster of characters, which I'm not sure if that was exactly their intent, but Ventress was a beloved character who has been there since the beginning, since the Clone Wars movie, even before that in Legends media, and she didn't even die in the Legends media, but I think that it was really gutsy to kill her off. Like, of all people, well, her and Quinlan are both like survivors in the Legends, so I was actually reading this book expecting both of them to survive. Both of them are great characters. I highly recommend this book. If you can get over the how they wrote it, I can, so I bet that other people will be able to. This book also made me just hate the Jedi Council so much more. I hate Mace Windu. Even now, I really don't like the characters Plo Koon, CC Tyne, or Ki-Adi-Mundi. Maybe a little bit for Plo Koon, but for the most part, Ki-Adi-Mundi, CC Tyne, Mace Windu, and Plo Koon are just characters who I am very glad that they ended up dying now. It makes their deaths feel so much more rewarding, which sounds really bad, but it does when it happens in episode 3. And yeah, that is pretty much it for my review. Did you guys read this book? If you did, what did you think about it? If you didn't, do you think that you're going to pick this one up or any other future ones? This was a very good book, and it was probably my favorite of all the Star Wars books to be released so far. Probably also because I really am in love with both of these characters. But that's pretty much it for my review. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to subscribe for more reviews and whatnot. And until next time, keep collecting. Bye.